Okay, today we're going to learn the dinim of Erev Tisha B'Av going into Tisha B'Av. Okay, so Erev Tisha B'Av, which this year is Wednesday, at 1 o'clock already begins the aura of Tisha B'Av. So therefore, a lot of things already, certain things, the dinim of Tisha B'Av apply. For instance, even let's say you have a bris milah or a pidyon haben for the Erev Tisha B'Av, so you're supposed to do it before midday. After Tisha B'Av afternoon, in other words, Wednesday afternoon, the afternoon before Tisha B'Av, you're not supposed to go walking, you're not supposed to on pleasure trips. In fact, you're not allowed to learn after midday Erev Tisha B'Av, only things that you're allowed to learn on Tisha B'Av, which means all your shiurim that you do, whether it's Chitas or Rambam or Daf Yomi or whatever you learn, really should be done before Wednesday midday. Now, also Erev Tisha B'Av, because Tisha B'Av is a Yom Tiv, so then Erev Tisha B'Av is also like a Friday afternoon. Friday afternoon, you daven mincha, you don't see tachnun. So there's no tachnun to mincha Wednesday afternoon, plus the entire day of Tisha B'Av. Now, there's something called Seudat Hamafseket. The literal translation of Seudat Hamafseket means the meal that separates from eating to non-eating. So the minhag is as follows: that Tisha B'Av, let's say before mincha, let's say for argument's sake, we're having mincha here Wednesday 6 o'clock, just mincha. So you have before mincha, you eat a meal like you would before a fast day, that you should fill up a little bit. After mincha, before shkia, then you have what's called Seudat Hamafseket. Now, the last 2 years we didn't have a Seudat Hamafseket because Tisha B'Av was Sunday. Either Shabbos pushed off to Sunday or Sunday. So then on Shabbos there is no Seudat Hamafseket. But this year, because it's Wednesday, so before sundown, and the fast begins, I believe 7:59. So you have to be finished eating and everything before that time. So before that time, the minhag is you have either a bagel or a piece of bread. It says in halacha it's preferred to wash for Seudat Hamafseket. And you eat a piece of bread and a hard-boiled egg. The minhag is also to dip the egg into ashes. Some people have a minhag to dip the bread also into ashes. So you make ashes, whatever. In halacha it says make sure they're not meat ashes from like burnt meat, because then you can't, you're eating meat. But, so you have ashes, whatever. Those that smoke, you make cigarette ashes or cigar ashes or whatever, you burn a piece of paper. So you sit on a low stool. For Seudat Hamafseket, you sit on a low stool. You have the bread and the egg, and you have whatever you want to drink. Seudat Hamafseket, you're not allowed to have two cooked foods. So if you have an egg, you're not allowed to have any other food for Seudat Hamafseket that's cooked. So you can't have, let's say, fish and an egg. And generally it says in halacha, it's preferred not to eat, it's not halacha, but it's preferred not to eat fish by Seudat Hamafseket because fish makes you very thirsty. And then you're going to want to be thirsty, you're going to be thirsty on Tisha B'Av. But you can't eat two cooked food. You can't eat, let's say, even cooked pasta, let's say, with an egg at Seudat Hamafseket. You want to eat pasta, all that stuff you eat before. For Seudat Hamafseket, you eat the bread, an egg dipped into ashes.
And salad. That's a salad.
Salad, raw salad you can eat. And then you sit on the low stool for the eating. Afterwards you can get up again. Even if you have 3 people in the house, the minhag is you eat separately, not to make a mezumin, because then it becomes like a formal meal that you don't want to do Erev Tisha B'Av. Okay? So now, that's Wednesday afternoon. So you're only allowed to learn what you're allowed to learn. Tisha B'Av, you shouldn't go leisurely stuff. You're allowed to still work Erev Tisha B'Av. But again, you can only learn those things that you're allowed to learn on Tisha B'Av. Now, when does the things of Tisha B'Av begin? So according to halacha, everything begins at shkia, at sundown, which is again, this year in LA, 7:59. So once 7:59 comes, you're not allowed to eat, you're not allowed to drink, you're not allowed to do any of the other things that's forbidden to do on Tisha B'Av. Many poskim write, this is a machlekes in halacha, sitting on a low stool, does it begin at Shkia or does it begin at nightfall? So there's different minhagim. Some people do like this, some people do like that. But once actual Tisha B'Av begins, you're not allowed to sit on a regular chair. You can only sit on a low stool or on the floor or whatever. Also, by the way, therefore you have to change your shoes also, because we'll soon learn on Tisha B'Av you're not allowed to wear leather shoes. Which, by the way, leather shoes means if any part of the shoe has leather in it, that means a little piece of suede, a leather sole or heel. Those things you're not allowed to wear on Tisha B'Av. You have to wear a shoe on Tisha B'Av that has no leather whatsoever. By the way, it's interesting because in halacha many poskim hold you're not allowed to wear any shoe. But the Rebbe writes on many that we do wear shoes, but not obviously leather is halacha, and that begins from Shkia time. So again, here in
What did they do it before plastic? What did they wear?
Cloth.
No?
They used to have cloth shoes. Even today, the non-leather shoes are not plastic; they're material. Okay, next. When it comes to Ma'ariv of Tisha B'Av, so before Ma'ariv, you said you take off your shoes. The minhag is to remove the pareches. Some people have a minhag just pushing it all the way to the side. Most people, the minhag is you take it off. Some people even take off from the shulchan, from the rabbi's place, where the chazan davens, they take off all the coverings. Okay, and then but for Eicha at least, you dim the lights. It should be more of a, not romantic, it should be more of a sad, light brings simcha, so you make it a little, you need light to see, but you have to make it a little bit dark. Okay, you daven Ma'ariv, okay, and then, after Ma'ariv, the Chazan says Kaddish Shalom, complete Kaddish with Tiskabel. Okay? After that, you sit down and you say Eicha. They have to sit on a low stool. Anyway, for Ma'ariv, you need to sit on a low stool. Now, people that have health issues with their backs, or very elderly people that have a difficult time to sit on a low stool, if it's health reasons, you're allowed to sit on a regular chair. Then you sit on the floor, you say Eicha, and a few pages of kinnis is called after Eicha. Now ideally, the way it works is the Chazan, the Balkari reads it, and the custom is in most places that the people read along together with the Balkari, you read along Eicha. And, and then after Eicha this, then you finished, and the Chazan says like this, Ba'ata Kodesh, say Va'ata Kodesh, even though it's not Saturday night. You say Va'ata Kodesh like we do, Tzei Shabbos. Then the Chazan says Kaddish without Tiskabel. In other words, he says what's called, basically it comes out to be a Kaddish Yosem. Let me explain. You have this a few times a year. You have this on Purim, you have this on Tisha B'Av. That's basically a normal circumstance. Sometimes if you make a mistake, it can happen more often. But every tefillah is a general knowledge. Every tefillah that you daven with a minyan, there is a Kaddish Tiskabel. That one line, Tiskabel Tzleisim, was in the Chol Beis Yisrael, Kodem Havon V'Shmai V'Imno Amen, which means Tiskabel Hashem should accept Tzleisim Uvusay in our davening and our request in the presence of Hashem. So that is only one Tiskabel per davening. So after Shachris you have a Tiskabel, after Musaf you have a Tiskabel, after Mincha you have a Tiskabel, and after Ma'ariv you have Tiskabel. And if there's a Musaf you have to, and then Moshe and Kippur after Ne'ilah there's this Tiskabel. But you can only say one Tiskabel per Tefillah. You can't say two. So therefore, let's say Tisha B'Av night, after Shemona Esrei, before Eicha, the Chazan says Kaddish Tiskabel. Then you say Eicha, and Ata Kaddish, and a few pages of Slichas, or Kinnis, and then the Ata Kaddish. So then afterwards, the Chazan says Kaddish without the verse of Tiskabel, which is basically the same Kaddish as a mourner's Kaddish. But he's not saying it as a mourner's Kaddish. Even somebody who has parents can still say that Kaddish because it's not a mourner's Kaddish. It's a regular Kaddish without Tiskabel. And then, okay. Next is, so even at home, there's another interesting point. The question is, are you allowed to go in a car on Tisha B'Av? So, halachically, you're allowed to sit in a car on Tisha B'Av. You're allowed to go in a car on Tisha B'Av, even before midday. They tell there's certain tzaddik, the Rebbe years ago, I don't know, I think it changed in the later years, but in the early years, even when I was there, the Rebbe didn't go in a car Tisha B'Av until midday. He would actually walk home Tisha B'Av night and walk back to 770 in the morning. I believe the Rebbe changed later, I'm not sure. But, well, later years he lived in his room, so in 770 you didn't go anywhere. Okay, so, but the car you're allowed to go in on Tisha B'Av, but otherwise, even at home, you're not supposed to sit in a regular chair. You have to sit on a low stool that's not more than 12 inches off the ground, which is a very low stool. Like, God forbid, it's like Shiva house. You know, you sit on a low stool. Because, what?
You live walking distance. Is it better to just walk, or it makes no difference?
The minig ha'olam is you go in a car. Okay, next. So, and again, at night, there's no learning, only those things you're allowed to learn in Tisha, which is plenty, by the way. And there's no Tachna Krishma Lamita, because again, it's a Yom Tov. Shachris, you know, before we go into the davening, let me just say the things that are forbidden to do on Tisha B'Av. Okay, eating and drinking is forbidden on Tisha B'Av.
Really?
Yeah, believe it or not. Yeah. Eating and drinking. You know, eating, drinking. A fast day does not mean you eat fast and drink fast. It means you don't eat and you don't drink. Believe it or shocking, huh?
That's shocking.
The next thing which is forbidden on Tisha B'Av is what's called rechitza. You can't even dip your finger into water, even cold water on Tisha B'Av, because that's enjoyment. So how does it work with rechitza? Rechitza is, let's say you get up in the morning, you need to do negovasser. Okay, in the Tos Yadayim when you wake up. So you're only allowed to wash until the end of the fingers. That's it. Only until the end of the fingers. And then, when you wash your hands in the morning, halachically you're not allowed to wash your face. When your fingers are still a little damp, you're allowed to rub them over your eyes. Now, if your eyes are encrusted or dirty, then you could wash a little bit of water. Dirt spots you're allowed to wash off. But again, there's no washing for pleasure. Even after the bathroom, you only wash until the end of the fingers. The only people that wash the full hand on Tisha B'Av is those people that are allowed to eat. For kids on the bar mitzvah or people that are not well, that they have to eat or drink on Tisha B'Av and they're eating bread. So then they wash their hands all the way to the knuckles. All to the wrist. Like you would regularly when you wash for bread. And you make them until Seudat. What? No mikvah Tisha B'Av. If the mikvah is dirty. Yeah, but then you know it's excited, you'll take a shower. No, you can't even, no, there's no mikvah. Chassidim used to say, Tisha B'Av is a halachos problem, but Chassidim used to say, Yom Kippur not go to the mikveh. Yom Kippur is biblically you're not allowed to go to the mikveh. But I'm saying, people, Chassidim, like conceptually, Yom Kippur, the holy day, you can't go to the mikveh. Come on. It's, but no, Tisha B'Av, there's no mikveh, there's no showers, there's no washing your hands, there's no washing your face. You can't even put on deodorant unless if there's a foul smell, then you can put on deodorant. But halachically, you're not allowed to even rinse your mouth on a fast day. There are poskim that say if somebody is really suffering from it, they can use, they say even better than water would be something like a little mouthwash, because that you were not afraid you're going to swallow it. And you take a little bit of mouthwash and you bend over the sink and you rinse your mouth, and but even that, many poskim say you're not allowed to do it. Some poskim say b'shas hachak you could, but any type of washing. Now, if somebody has a dirt spot, they're allowed to wash only that spot. If somebody has an infection, God forbid, that they need to soak their foot or to soak their fingers or whatever, so that's not called rechitza shel tainug. That's not called washing for pleasure. That's health reasons. For health, you're allowed to wash. Or women that say they're preparing food. Let's say kids have to eat. So you want to give a kid a fruit, whatever, and you have to wash the fruit, and the kid's too little to do it. So you're allowed to wash the fruit. Some poskim say if you can wear gloves, when you wash the fruit, it's even better, because then you're not wetting your hand at all. Okay, to be continued.